wouldn't do it.
And then,
That's fascinating.
Compared to all of our little LED lights.
Yeah.
it's cool. It's cool. It's really cool.
The city council for the city of Rollingwood will come together for joint city council and Rollingwood Community Development Corporation meeting Wednesday, November 19th, 2025 at 6:31 p.m. I will begin with a roll call of council, and then I will turn it over to the president of the RCDC for him to bring his body to order. With that, we will call the roll.
Brooke Brown.
Kevin Shell.
Kevin Glushy.
Phil McDuffie.
Sarah Hudson.
Gavin Maskell, being quorum present, will now recognize our esteemed
For
colleague.
RCDC, Colin Harvey.
David Smith. Oh, sorry.
Emily Doran.
Barry Montgomery. And we might have Bob. Is Bobby Huffley? Oh, Pat. Oh, geez. Sorry, Pat. You snuck behind me. I don't know if Bobby's on or not. No, he's not. Okay. We expected Bobby to be on.
We can show him on the. We can show him present when he shows up. Mr. President, you have a quorum?
Yes.
Great. You are now in joint session of the Rollingwood Community Development Corporation and the City of Rollingwood City Council. We will open with any public comments on items not on the agenda. Do we have anyone for items not on the agenda?
You've got
I know him. Come on up, Tom.
I'll make this short. Tom Farrell, 3223 Park Hills Drive. First of all, thank all of y'all for serving our city. We really appreciate that. Sometimes I know y'all don't think we do, but we do appreciate all the different views we have and everything y'all do. I have two things. One, I wanted to make sure that just as a general deal, on RCDC, when we set that up, it was designed as an economic engine to help us get more sales tax from BK's Road. That's generally why we set that up when it came about. Obviously, the laws gives us some opportunities to use some of that money for parks, some of that money for other things, but I think we need to keep that kind of in mind as we go through this. It was set up, also I'll just tell you, it was set up so that, and the law is set up that way to make sure that we have a consensus as we go through and do all this, because it's whatever money that RCDC spends, it takes so little. It's a 10% tripwire for citizens to get a petition to go back and call an election. And I hope we don't ever get to a point to where we have arguments that go that, because I think that's very disruptive for the city, and I don't think that's good for governance that we have to go through that. So I would ask for, strive to get a consensus on how we go about spending our monies on RCDC. I have two projects that, three projects that I'd like to be considered. If I read this correctly, Mr. Mayor, I think I'm still within the bounds of the deal, if you don't mind.
I'll let you know if you're not.
Thank you. One would be, and I brought this up before, I think it would be prudent for us to have a pedestrian bridge over Dry Creek there at Edge Grove to make pedestrian traffic safer as they walk to some of our businesses on BK's Road. We have worked very hard with our committee on doing the commercial development on BK's Road, and I think that's something that would help to do that. And remember, we do have right-of-way along at least, I think most, if not all, of Edge Grove that would allow us to be able to do that. The second project on BK's Road that I would ask y'all to consider is getting a coma on the drainage of Dry Creek to look at the land that Rollingwood owns. We own an acre and some odd number there at Edge Grove. We're currently using it as a laydown site, but we also own 3/4 of an acre a little bit further down. So we've got some tracts there, and I think there would probably be, and I'll leave this to people that are more politically astute than I am, but I think right now is probably the best time that we have to go in to work with the Corps of Engineers to try to get that type of thing done. And the next project I have is from my wife and some of her friends, and she wants to see about maybe using the concession stand and making it into a small community center, which would allow some card playing. And we could, Mr. Mayor, we could have a economic development if we would play poker there and that sort of thing. And I think generally the worst that would happen to us is they would go after the mayor and put him in jail. But we have a good mayor pro tem, so I'm not sure that that's a negative. But that's something that I think could be used readily, and I don't think that's a terribly expensive deal. I know there's been some discussions about that, but I think that would be a very good use of some of our RCDC money on that. Thank y'all very much for y'all's time and y'all's effort.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Retirement from being mayor must make you brave to suggest a casino in the park.
They don't go after former mayors.
Okay. Noted. Okay. Thank you, Mayor Farrell. With that, we will move on to the regular agenda and agenda item number 2. Before I do that, a couple of housekeeping items. We are set at 6:37. We do have a regular council meeting that begins at 7. So before we get started, I'll ask everyone to keep their comments somewhat brief. I think we'll talk more about the agenda item, but I think the goal is to have a collaborative discussion this evening. I would ask you to keep that collaborative and keep it to about 20 minutes so that we can begin our council meeting on time. Also, council, if you would, and I'll try to do a better job reminding you of this, if you'll speak into the microphones. I know there's been some discussion about it's hard to hear our recording that we put on YouTube later. I think that is mainly due to not leaning into the mic. So if you'll try to work with me on that, and I'll try to help you, remind you of that. For RCDC, apologies. We just toured the Westlake Hills facility, and they have a huge dais, and if we had that dais, you could all be at the dais. But hopefully we'll have that for you someday. Until then, we're having to share the microphone, so we gave your esteemed president his microphone. Feel free to share that with council, with your RCDC members as needed, or we can have somebody go to the podium if needed as well. So we'll just have to try to work with that. I will have a little heavier gavel than usual. What I mean by that is let's make sure and not speak over one another. I'm going to try to keep decorum. It's a little harder with a larger group, so I will have a little bit heavier hand on that this evening, but I'll work with you and make sure everybody is heard as needed. Yes, sir.
I just want to let you know Bobby Hempfling, treasurer for RCDC, has joined.
Show him present, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
He's right there.
Got it. Okay. I was like, where? I don't see anyone different.
He's virtually present.
Okay, virtually present. Understood. We'll have that reflected in the minutes. With that, we will move on to the regular agenda. Agenda item number 2, discussion and possible action on RCDC funding priorities and City Council project priorities. I will open this. I believe this was by motion of Mr. Glasheen, so I will first recognize Mr. Glasheen to lay out his agenda item. I will then recognize the president of RCDC to speak concurrently in laying out this agenda item, and then I will recognize any council member who wants to make comments, and I'll recognize any RCDC member who wants to make comments. And from that, after we get done with that, I will listen to any testimony on the agenda item, and by the time we get done with all of that, we will probably be close to 7 o'clock. So with that, I'll recognize Mr. Glasheen.
Thank you, and I'll try to be brief. First of all,
Interrupt us.
of course.
Can you reflect that Brian Ryder is?
Oh, let the record reflect Brian Ryder is also present on the dais, not virtual.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say I'm really appreciative of everyone getting together. I think this is great to all get together and improve communication. It's fun, great to see everybody here, and we had a great park commission meeting yesterday too. So, good job to Melissa Morrow for running that meeting. I wanted to have this meeting to start a conversation. I don't think that we expect to take action tonight. I don't think that we expect to finish the conversation tonight. I don't think we expect to even have everyone respond to some of the ideas that get thrown out here tonight, but it's to get some ideas out in the air so that we can think about it, discuss it, and continue to discuss going forward in the future as a group. I like the idea of having some joint meetings from time to time with RCDC and even with Park Commission sometime. I just think it helps with communication, so thank you guys for that. The reason I wanted to bring this up is interesting that Mr. Farrell, Tom Farrell, who is one of my, where is he? One of my favorite people in Rollingwood, talked about why the RCDC was created, and it was created in 2002 under a 1979 statute, and Mr. Brian Ryder walked in right after Tom Farrell's comments, and Tom mentioned that it was created to stimulate economic development along Bee Caves Road, but Mr. Brian Ryder and I have had a conversation before that it was created actually to create funding for the parks and for public improvements. So it's probably both, because those are the two purposes of the statute that are allowed. And we are a type B CDC as opposed to a type A EDC, Economic Development Corporation. And I believe, Tom, I might be wrong, but I think that the 10% rule only applies to type A and maybe for cities above 500,000 people. We're operating under type B rules for cities under 20,000, totally different deal. And we can, and I did post on the City Council message board a brief kind of editorial of my position on this that I'm advocating. I'm one person, I'm one voice on this council. It's a matter of, consensus that we have to build in the community and on RCDC and on council. But my views are that the best use of our funds is in the Community Development Corporation gets 1/8 cent of the sales tax that would otherwise go to the state. So we're just capturing that money. We have about $1 million in the account now. It brings in about $200,000 a year, and we haven't spent significant money on it, on anything in a while. But we're allowed to use it for economic development projects. It's pretty broad authorization for stimulate essentially commercial quarter development projects, or for municipal improvements, which includes parks, sidewalks, city buildings, and public safety. And I put a link on the council message board in my comments to the comptroller's office, which has an explainer on the differences between the types of development corporations. Historically, RCDC has been focused on stimulating development on Bee Caves Commercial Quarter. But some things have happened since then. I mean, first of all, we've seen a big decline in retail because of internet sales. And so that's an issue for retail everywhere. But then 5 years ago, there was a proposal to build mid-rise residential at the Chinatown Shopping Center. It spawned the Save Rollingwood movement. I see Ryan Clinton was online here with us. And people opposed in the community, significant opposition to that kind of development. The reason that's important is because I'm a real estate developer, and I can tell you that and Colin Harvey's done a good job of trying to reach out to the commercial community to learn about what their development concerns and needs are. And we went to a lunch maybe 2.5 years ago at Chinatown with including the representative of the owner of that shopping center who's a developer. That same developer has built the Lauren Hotel that you guys might be familiar with over there on Riverside near Lamar. It's a beautiful property, but it's like 8 stories. It contains a hotel, condos, restaurants, retail, and no parking. And
There's valet parking.
Valet parking. And
Very handy valet parking.
And what they explained to us was that for a project to be economically viable for that kind of redevelopment, you need to include a residential component. And that's probably true for any viable redevelopment along Bee Caves at this point in this market. And so it makes it difficult to do. So what I propose is my other problem with spending the money on economic development is that I don't think we're going to move the needle. That's a $200 million project, the Chinatown Shopping Center redevelopment. We have $1 million. It's not going to make it. It's not a make or break for that kind of a project. And The other problem is that we have so many needs here in the city, like with the park infrastructure, and we're gonna build a new city hall that we could use those funds for. And the only other source of city funds is through property taxes. We can't raise the sales taxes. And so it's better if we use those sales taxes and donate for the city stuff that we have to do anyway, and then we don't have to raise property taxes. And the problem with some of the redevelopment, like including residential on BKs, if they do build, like say, mid-rise residential over retail mixed use, is that residential doesn't bring in any revenue to the city. Really what we want from the BK's quarter is sales tax, because we get a big chunk of the sales tax, but we don't get much. We don't get to keep much of the property tax. Most of it goes to the schools and the state and the hospital district. So it really doesn't help us a lot economically to get non-retail development on BKs. We should, in my opinion, focus more on retail development if we could, but I just don't think it's practical to actually affect too much of that when we have such good projects through Park Commission as identified. And the other issue that I think is important to remember, and has done some real positive things, approving funding for the retaining wall in the park, which was a great step in the right direction in my opinion. They talked about budgeting a portion of their revenue for park improvements going in the future. And they have expressed support for other Park Commission initiatives like the parking lot rehabilitation project, which could be expensive. I do think it's important, though, that we all remember that the Parks Commission is the place where these capital improvement projects need to start and go through first. I think it really helps us flesh them out and develop them and get community input there, and that's where, you know, then this whole separate dog park issues come up, and it's in parks right now, and that's, you know, where it needs to start, and it'll take some time to get through there, but that again is another one of these projects that we might be able to fund. So in conclusion, my position is that I would like to see the RCDC focus on projects that directly benefit the Rollingwood community and our public infrastructure needs in the park and for our city hall renovation or reconstruction and public service building, rather than trying to reserve funds for commercial developments. And also I'll say that doesn't mean we abandon the idea of commercial development. The city has a lot of other tools in their toolbox to stimulate commercial development. We can give tax abatements, for example, to commercial developers, or we could waive certain fees like sewer connection or extensions that are needed, or put in some of that infrastructure that's needed at city expense if we choose to do so. But I think that while we have needs in the near term, in the next 5 years, that we should focus on spending it on these needs here. And those needs won't last forever. The city, you know, park needs a lot of work, and the city hall is gonna get rebuilt. And when we finish those two projects, we're gonna be out, you know, maybe we'll go on to sidewalks throughout Rollingwood, but at some point we're gonna run out of public infrastructure projects in Rollingwood, and we're gonna still have that economic development revenue, and then I think it would be smart to turn it to other projects. So that's what I'm here to advocate or to suggest for discussion, and not just for tonight for decision, but for going forward to think and talk about. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Councilman. With that, Mr. Harvey?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for that, Kevin. So to start off, I think we actually have very good alignment at that highest level in terms of what's possible. Once we started reaching out and meeting the developers and engaging with them and understanding the scale of project that it would take at a Rollingwood Plaza, you know, where Chinatown is, that there was basically no way we were going to move the needle. 100% agree. We understood that we would move the needle through building better relationships and being a liaison to the different groups inside of Rollingwood, the community being one of them, to try and work with them to get something that is, you know, comports more with how the community has voiced their expectations and perspectives as kind of seen in the document, the comprehensive plan that was approved. So I think we're in strong agreement with that, and realize that really that is probably the biggest place we can make a difference, and that's why a lot of the things that you acknowledged in your opening are happening, is that acknowledgement. So we're spending no money but a lot of time trying to do economic development changes through relationship management and everything else kind of focused on some of these big issues. I think one of the challenges, and I was reading through you know, some of the best practices and considerations when you have Economic Development Council, or CDC, as you delineated, is there's a lot of leeway, right? We have a comprehensive plan. It basically incorporates a master park plan. Both were very big efforts. They're multi-hundred page, multi-hundred people have provided input to them. They're not prescriptive activity, built, project plans. They're not specific designs. They're frameworks that reflect people's input. And so I think what become, anyway, so the issue here with things being really, really broad is sometimes it can be hard to figure out across these three committees as things move to parks and then maybe go to council and then come get presented to us for potential funding. It's what filter criteria are we using, to make these decisions? And one of the suggestions, and this may be a good sort of outcome of what you've teed up this evening, we wouldn't get to the wording tonight, but I'll give you an example, is for us to adopt a little bit more structure on how we're making decisions and what's guiding those decisions. And to give an example, and just to be fully transparent on me personally, when I am in a meeting and I am going through and evaluating a project, I'm basically looking at four things. I'm looking at one, first of all, is it a compliant project, right? Is it in line with the terms of what an Economic Development Council can actually fund? That's the easy test criteria. The next one I'm looking at is how well does it align to the comprehensive plan and the master park plan? Whether people like it or not, it's several hundred pages of community feedback that's pretty straightforward and some, in my mind, pretty reasonable, in my opinion. Third thing is, especially now, as Kevin mentioned, and as Melissa and Parks have brought through to us, there are several projects now that are starting to get teed up that have made significant progress. Some already funded, and when you start to do some things that are related, and infrastructure in the park can become related very quickly. I'm personally also looking for, are there dependencies or synergies amongst these projects? Should things be grouped together because of the lower costs? Should things be separated because potentially we design ourselves into a corner because we piecemealed certain pieces and there's no more room, and we've done something that we can't undo, because we have looked close to $1 million, but that goes quickly when you're talking about the projects that we're talking about. And then lastly, I think this is hopefully on everybody's radar, I'm also thinking about the health, environmental safety of anything we're trying to do. So to the extent, well, I'm not saying those four things that I personally use, I'm just sharing that as an example, could be a foundation for, if everybody understands how they're looking at and approving and why they're voting a certain way, that could be a helpful way in which we collaborate on these projects. Because I think right now it's so wide open, and we haven't agreed to anything specific enough that it's just really hard, I think, to get anything done. And I'll stop there, just saying that I think in addition to agreement on the focus, I think in order to get through and get collaboration and consensus and trade-offs agreed to get all these things aligned, that it would be helpful to have a stronger, not super bureaucratic, just a guideline to make those decisions. At this point, Gavin, am I supposed to yield back to you or let someone, any further?
I'll take it back for a moment and ask if there are any council members who wish to make a comment or two or three or none. Going once, going twice. All right, back to you, Colin, and you can have any of your
I'm
members.
going to turn it over to.
Go ahead first.
Okay. Do you want there or here?
You can sit in Colin's lap if you need to.
We do a whole, ventriloquist show.
But do try to speak into the mic if you can.
I'll step back.
Do you mind?
I do not mind at all. You just take my chair.
Well, one thing kind of going off of Tom's comments, and I checked real quick, that type A, type B flipped. It's the type B is the, type B corporation must publish a notice of type B projects it claims to undertake. Public has the right to submit a petition objecting to a particular type B project. The citation is Texas Local Government Code 505.106 and 505.303. My name is David Smith. I'm on the RCDC, and I am really glad, for one, we're doing this. I don't know that anyone on the RCDC is promoting any kind of development incentives or opportunities or anything else at this time. I think in the past we've We have talked a lot about ways to help local businesses, locally owned businesses, smaller restaurants, et cetera, get some traction. But I think, I think in terms of the park, I think in terms of park funding, there's a lot we can do from a capital improvement and planning standpoint. And, I've really kind of rolled up my sleeves and dug in deep, both on public health and environmental studies and reports, as well as really trying to get some good dog park and park planning documents that have been case studies from other communities across the country for us to look at and help try to guide some of the discussion, try to guide some of the process in a special, in a really collaborative way, because I think we have an opportunity as a community to have a really great dog park area for people who love dogs, to have a sense of community. And I think we have also the ability to have a great non-dog park area for humans to recreate and have some open space, and for kids to play sports and families to get together. Pushing that aside, there's something that Tom mentioned, or a couple things that Tom mentioned that I want to tear off of. I'm a dirt guy. I'm a land guy. I'm a environment and natural resource attorney by trade. I was in state and federal government doing public lands and parks and fish and wildlife for 10 years. I think we have an opportunity also to look at some pieces of property that the city owns. Ryan Clinton and I actually, during the comprehensive plan development process, which I was on with Ryan, looked at a lot of this in terms of, talking about transportation and pedestrian use in and around the park, safety issues, access issues. But I think we have some kind of low-hanging fruit of some properties that the city owns that are being either not utilized or underutilized. You look at Delana Lane, there's been some different suggestions, except for that by the Endeavor Project. There's 2.5 acres back there that we could, as a group with the Park Commission, with the City Council, look at if there's some appropriate uses back there. Also on Edge Grove, Tom and I have talked about the Edge Grove piece, a couple acres there. From a regulatory standpoint, because this is part of my nerdy wheelhouse, the Sackett decision changed the definition of waters of the U.S. in a way that stretch of Dry Creek's likely not jurisdictional from a core perspective, combined with, Tom mentioned, a CLOMR, which is a conditional letter of map revision, which is applied to with FEMA to change the floodplain. That's floodplain land. That's a couple acres back there that, could be a small pocket park, could be a dog park, or it could open itself up to, Melissa and I had a conversation yesterday about, we've been talking about food trailers, food trucks, coffee trucks. That may be a location to maybe rent for a coffee truck or some kind of pop-up. Things like that, I think, are kind of important for us to take a look and talk to. And I'm committed to working and lending my expertise to looking at some of those areas and working with the council. And I appreciate, Kevin, you pulling us together on this. And I think we would benefit from a lot more discussion about where we can find common grounds and discussion with the Park Commission too. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Del Cambry, I saw your hand up. Did you want? Well, I'll be. You technically have a minute, but I'll give you what you need.
I don't need. So this is just speaking on the priorities of RCDC and as we align with the council, and I'm going to kind of do my best to explain at least my point of view and how I see us going forward. I think Kevin and everyone else is kind of fully aware, or Kevin outlined it actually, of the process of how it starts with Park, and then goes to RCDC, and then ultimately for the council for a funding mechanism. So my biggest concern actually is RCDC has been used both historically and especially under the current group of the park as a funding mechanism for everything related to park. I just have a fundamental problem of the Park Commission repeatedly coming to us in a way that is ineffectual, and they also lack the ability to raise funds outside of RCDC. We get punted projects, and there is no initiative to fund or look at outside resources from the community, and we just get kicked over. And so RCDC becomes, in some ways, like a just an overall pinata of what is kicked over from parks. Now that's not to say that we have not supported, and I do actually support the work that Park has done, but I would like to see more an effectual leadership from Park to take initiative on raising funds, setting an agenda, and understanding in a way that sets an agenda instead of just kind of piecemealing things from the last Park meeting, the meeting before that, and the one we had actually a joint meeting with. It is very much piecemealed. There is a lack of vision. There's a lack of strategy. And so I'd like to see that as more of the work that we do as we collectively put together this $1 million. It is a process, and the ones that I think we need to prioritize and understand what's coming down the pike, and then how to make sure that it's effective. We have, because when you piecemeal, you add cost and you add time, and those things are not effective. And so I would really ask the Park Commission. We have the master plan now, and I know if we do another one, it's going to take another 5 years, but at least come up with a cohesive strategy to ask for us for these funds in a way that makes sense, and so that we can initiate progress that is beneficial to the community, that is not divisive, in a way that benefits all of us. And I don't think to date the commission has done that in a way that is any way beneficial for anybody. It's become divisive. We have, this goes back to 5-10 years of just, and not just this current Park Commission, like in general, like it's just punted over and over again. There's no outside way to think creatively out of the box to raise revenue or raise awareness of things to do in the park. And so I would encourage the Park Commission to look at ways to be, instead of being divisive, being inclusive. And I do think that I think that is an opportunity to bring the community together, because since I've been here, the most divisive part of our entire city has been the Park Commission. That's not a slight for anyone. It's just the only piece of property that we all use. So there's got to be a way to get together, to raise funds, to make it in a way that everyone makes it's beneficial for all, and we're not stepping on each other's toes. There's not kids playing in dog, feces and urine, and there's not people getting upset about having that contested space. There's not. There's an ability to occasionally have a community event at the field house, and so I think there's just ways to do it in a way that is collaborative, and I would like to see some leadership and assertiveness on the Park Commission to do so. $1 million is great, but it's not a blank check. We get $200,000 a year. The irrigation piece, which I'm very passionate about, I think that is a great idea, but that is, that's between $300,000 and $600,000 probably minimum. The road part that just got punted to us yesterday is another $300,000. So right there, the $1 million is gone, and it needs to be planned out in a way that makes sense, and I don't see that. And so that is my biggest concern, is that we're not operating under a strategic plan that makes sense. And I would just like to see that be, as we move forward, there's not enough money. Like when, to Kevin's point, when the developer came in and he said, this is a $200 million project. Well, RCDC has $1 million. Well, my $10,000 gift of running a water line for the Chinatown is of no use to the developers. Our best use is the park. I just want it to be in a way that is effective, useful, and actually brings the community together instead of being divisive, which it has been up. You all know this. The park has been divisive for damn near 10 years. There's got to be a way to get it together to make sense. Carve it out, whatever you got to do. No one's going to agree on everything, but there's a 60% piece there that makes sense for all of us. And I'd like to see that as we move forward, in our North Star is a way to find commonality and common ground that, instead of ripping us apart, keeps us moving forward in a way that we can be cordial and not be divisive and angry. So that is my good deed for the day.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mr. Mayor, may I speak?
You may.
I mostly disagree with Barry's perspective on that. And it's more a root cause disagreement, and it's the elephant in the room, and let's just make it real simple so we solve the problem, is the park is only divisive because there is a fundamental disagreement between whether or not dogs and kids should play on the same fields. That's it. The only reason why Parks is piecemealing things is because nobody wants to deal with what's been going on in these WhatsApp chats for the last freaking week or so. But it's a fundamental issue. It's the only issue. If we get rid of that one thing and we come to common ground on that, we will be able to fund pretty much all of the stuff Kevin's talking about. And he's right. Then we'll probably run out of those things. But we shouldn't make this a bigger deal than it is. We shouldn't piecemeal things. I very much agree with him. But the reason it's happening is not because somebody thinks that's a smart way to do projects. It's because we can't get to consensus on how to treat these fields and where our children should be playing. So if we want to fix things, we can fix that. And then the rest of it, I guarantee you, we could be in 3 months, we could be doing almost every project that's come through Parks.
Okay.
Can
I will recognize you.
Thank
I sense the rabbit hole forming. And
I'm not going down
would
the rabbit hole.
implore
I'm gonna wrap
everyone
it
not
up.
to go down it.
No, I'm not. I want to wrap it up.
Okay.
So, first of all, I want to say that my perspective on the Parks Commission is that it's come a long way. That 5 years ago, it was kind of paralyzed. They'd always been told no to every funding request, and there was no source of funds, and it's not realistic to raise money privately when we have tax money that should be used to keep it up to a certain standard. And I think that the dog park issue, I think there's a lot of momentum now. This is the first time that issue's actually gone through the proper process, which is go to Park Commission. No one has ever brought it to Park Commission before, and so.
No one knows the process, to be fair.
And Jeff Marks and I talked about it, and at least that's my understanding. And I'm sorry that when I make inaccurate statements, it's not because I'm trying to mislead anybody. It's because I'm not perfect, but then I'm talking about to the extent of my knowledge. Okay, but at least in the 5 years I've been involved, I hadn't seen it come up. It's going through that process now. I'm very hopeful about reaching common ground and getting a solution to that problem. So I don't think it is something that's impossible. Actually, I'm quite optimistic that we make it happen. But I think the way to solve a lot of the problems that we all have and that Barry talked about and that Park Commission has had and that we've had is to have these joint meetings. I think we need to have a joint workshop quarterly or monthly for a while where we work through these issues with Parks, with RCDC, and with whoever on council wants to do it, and do these things, some joint meetings that are more like workshop meetings, so that we can, even if we have to form subcommittees from their different groups, and work together to reach a consensus, rather than trying to go through the whole process 3 times at Parks, RCDC, and Council, where, it's just, it can be frustrating and counterproductive. So I think we should work together like that. And I really appreciate everybody being here, and especially the attitude everybody's expressed about working together, being cooperative, finding win-win solutions, and as the mayor likes to say, giving grace to one another when we do say and do stupid things, which we're all prone to do from time to time. Okay? So
Thank you. That was good. I'm happy to recognize anyone else from RCDC. I'll get to those in the audience in a minute. Anyone else from RCDC? No more else from council. Hearing none, it is 7:08. I will now recognize anyone here wishing to testify on this agenda item from the public. Reminding those who came in late that we do have a city council meeting that was supposed to start 8 minutes ago. I will make sure everybody has an opportunity to be heard, but just please bear in mind that we still have a long night ahead of us. Melissa, would you like to come up? Still identify yourself, but I did. I'll give you a head start.
Melissa Morrow, 2502 Timberline Drive, and the Parks Commission Chair. And since there's so many people listening, I do want to let y'all know, in your water bills, we now have Friends of Rollingwood Park that you can donate to. So in case any of y'all don't know, that was one of the things that we've been working on. It's the only thing I'm going to say tonight. I'm going on a date with my husband.
And my wife.
so-
You'll see my wife
Yes,
there. so
good.
Tell her hello.
All right.
I haven't been to Junior League event on this night in 8 years. So
Anyway, I wish you all well. Thank you.
thank you. To Melissa's point, for those of you who have thrown your water bill away because you're on auto pay, there is a new opportunity for you to make private donations on your water bill. And if you cannot locate that in your water bill, call up, talk to Veronica next week, and she's happy to help you get signed up for that. Anyone else wishing to testify on agenda item number 2 for the joint session? Feel free. Yeah. Yes, don't let me talk you out of it. I was just letting everybody know that we do have. Everyone can talk if they want.
All right, I'm Jen Kuhn, and I apologize because some of these comments may be a little off point because I thought this whole thing was starting at 7, and that's my bad. I sent comments in that responded to the anonymous questionnaire that was dropped at my doorstep over the weekend, and I just want to point at the one benefit of having the dog park there. It's not just for the dogs. There are actually not a lot of places for adults in this community to meet up as kind of a third space. And the dog park actually presents a wonderful opportunity for adults to get together and talk to each other that doesn't involve kids' sporting event or drinking. So I find my dogs are a wonderful way to meet people. My pandemic puppy is not particularly well socialized. I can't take him to the dog park right now. I am working on that. But I'm here essentially to throw that out as an additional consideration. We are serving the members of our community by providing this kind of very neutral place for adults to get together. So I would strongly endorse the plan that preserves that role in our community. Thanks.
And thank you, and you weren't wrong. There is a 7 o'clock meeting, and that agenda item is agenda item number 18 on that meeting, but your comments are taken, and everyone that needed to hear them have heard them, and they're somewhat related to this agenda item too, so you're in good shape. So. All right, anyone else wishing to testify on agenda item number 2 from the joint meeting? Hearing none, I will take a motion from a council member to adjourn the council joint session. You have a motion by Ms. Hudson to adjourn. Is there a second?
I would like to discuss it for a second.
You're not recognized.
I'm just curious about how we'd go about scheduling some kind of a next joint meeting or working group, and is that something Alan and the staff's going to do with
Yeah, we can.
email availability?
We're happy to do that.
Okay.
We're happy to work with you. I don't think I need a motion for that.
All right, well then I
So-
second the motion.
Okay, great. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. I will also take this opportunity to point out what I meant to point out earlier. Kevin Glashina is about to be sworn in ceremonially.
I am not that.
What did I say? Kevin Shell. Kevin Shell. Yeah, this is going to take some getting used to.
I don't need that kind of heat.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Well, since I just recognized you on that vote, he has officially been seated earlier, but he will ceremonially be seated in a moment. So he did not vote incorrectly there. So they're big 5 ayes, no nays. City Council is adjourned. I'll turn it over to you to adjourn your meeting.
Motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right.
You're adjourned. Thank you, RCDC, for your service, for your work, for being here tonight, and we will be in touch for additional collegial meetings like this.